Hi there! Welcome to Fluent, where we will be showing you the latest trends in luxury and lifestyle. If you want to keep up with the buzz, then you came to the right channel because we will be uploading more videos like this. Make sure to hit that subscribe button for more mind-blowing content. And without further ado, let's get it on. We will be discussing Rolex, the world's most well-known luxury watch brand and the forerunner of luxury watchmaking. Hans Wilsdorf and Alfred Davis, a German and a Brit, founded Rolex 112 years ago in 1905. Despite popular belief, it all began in London and not in Geneva. The Hans Wilsdorf Foundation now owns the company, which has grown to an $8.8 billion brand. They made almost $5 billion in sales last year. Apart from that, here are 10 things about Rolex watches you should know. Number 1. Rolex relocated from London to Geneva to not just manufacture the best watches in the world, but to save money on taxes. A 24-year-old and his brother-in-law founded the company in 1905. They used to import the individual components and assemble them themselves. They decided to produce the pieces themselves 3 years later. Rolex officially left London in 1990 because import taxes were rapidly rising due to the war, and Switzerland made perfect sense due to its neutral position and the availability of skilled labor in the region. In addition to that, as previously stated, Switzerland is a tax sanctuary. As a result, making the relocation was the best bet. Number 2. The name of the company itself does not stand for something at all. It simply sounds luxurious. Hans Wilsdorf, one of Rolex's two founders, desired a name that would be memorable and convenient to pronounce for people of any language. He knew it had to be brief and look good when ingrained in a watch. He made a decision that it should be 5 letters long, so he began creating thousands of combinations using every letter in the alphabet. He had around 100 names written down, but none of them really spoke to him. Until, as the man himself describes, one morning, while riding on the upper deck of a horse-drawn omnibus along Cheapside in the city of London, a genie whispered, "Rolex." And the rest is history. So, you know its name only has divine origins, but it did not in fact stand for anything when it was created at first. They chose it for its straightforwardness, and because it appears to be exuberant. Number 3. In 1996, a Rolex watch aided in the investigation of a murder committed by Canada's most wanted fugitive. Albert Walker Johnson, a high school dropout and scam artist from Paris, Canada, committed the crime in London and defrauded 70 clients out of $3.2 million through a mortgage and investment scam. He left Canada for England with one of his 3 daughters. After being wanted by Canadian authorities, he co-founded a new investment firm with another Canadian expat named Ronald Joseph Platt. When Platt returned to Canada, Johnson claimed his identity with his 15-year-old daughter, masquerading as his wife to avert Interpol. When Platt went back to England in 1996, Johnson planned to murder him. He could have gotten away with it as well if he had removed Platt's Rolex before ditching him in the English Channel. After spending 2 weeks in the water, the body was identified as Platt's by the police, and Walker was quickly located. He is now completing a life sentence in prison. Number 4. Bernie Madoff swindled Rolex out of nearly $1 billion. When Hans Wilsdorf Foundation CEO Patrick Heininger stepped down for personal reasons in 2008, the watch world was dumbfounded. Since Wilsdorf's death in 1960, he and his father Andre had led the organization, and there were no indications that their era was about to finish. Rolex had a sizable stake in Bernie Madoff's $65 billion Ponzi scheme. To put it shortly, this guy ran what was possibly the world's biggest investment scam until 2009. He was captured and convicted to 150 years in prison. Rolex was one of the companies that invested in Bernie's fund, it turns out. Despite the company's official denial, Rolex was Bernie Madoff's beloved watch company, and his full collection of expensive watches was sold at auction after he ended up in prison in order to retrieve some of the money. Hardly $600,000 was raised. Number 5. The Air King is the most affordable Rolex, which costs $2,200. Sure, you can get a brand new Rolex for $2,200. It receives the very same degree of attention, but it isn't as intricate as the other Rolex watches. The point is, Rolex watches weren't always so expensive. A high-end Rolex watch, for example, would have cost around $900 in 1981. However, in less than a decade, the price of the identical model with minor changes has risen to $2,350. After that, they realized that the more expensive the price and the greater the attention to detail serves as their competitive edge. Nowadays, an entry-level Rolex will cost you between $8,000 to $10,000. Rolex created the first waterproof wristwatch in 1926. The Rolex Oyster, introduced in 1926, was the first truly waterproof and dustproof wristwatch ever made. Almost every waterproof wristwatch on the planet is a direct descendant of this one. It even introduced the term Oyster, which is still used today for waterproof Rolex watches. Before we proceed, we would love to know which Rolex watch is your favorite if you own any. If not, which one would you like to have? Comment down below. Done? How about we get going? Number 6. Mercedes Gleitz, the very first British woman to swim the English Channel, received the Rolex Oyster from Rolex founder Hans Wilsdorf himself to take with her during the swim. Gleitz ended up wearing the watch around her neck, not her wrist, and once she was dragged out of the water, half conscious after 10 hours, the inside of the Rolex was completely dry. Certainly a clever propaganda move on Hans Wilsdorf's part. Number 7. The most highly priced Rolex available, directly from the manufacturer, is the Rolex GMT Master 2 Men's Diamond Ice Watch, which costs slightly more than $500,000. They basically covered what is already a ridiculously priced Rolex watch in diamonds. But who in their proper minds would pay $500,000 for a diamond-encrusted Rolex? Celebrities such as Brad Pitt and David Beckham have spent a lot of money to make their wrists stand out from the crowd. Number 8. The 1958 Rolex GMT Master, which sold for $3.5 million, is the most expensive Rolex watch in the world. The 1958 Rolex GMT Master was auctioned off at the Phillips Auction House in Geneva. This timepiece is made of 18-karat gold. Its remarkable backlight cognac brown bezel is one of its distinguishing features. It is particularly unusual because most Rolex GMT watches are made of stainless steel rather than gold. This distinctive Rolex GMT Master was kept in its original unrestored condition for 58 years. However, what exactly makes this timepiece worth $3.5 million? Rolex has its own private gold foundry, which few people are aware of. Yes, Rolex manufactures its own gold. They have patents on 3 gold blends and a steel compound known as 904L. It's no secret that Rolex manufactures all of its components in-house. But going so as far to create your own type of gold took us by amazement. This particular watch appears to have a one-of-a-kind gold blend that has never been used once more, making this the best thing since sliced bread for Rolex enthusiasts. Number 9. One Rolex watch takes nearly a year to create. This is why Rolex watches are so pricey. Despite producing thousands of watches per year from its factory, each Rolex watch is still crafted one by one. The exact same defining characteristic is the commitment to quality. Each watch is tested extensively in pressure and resistance tests to ensure it meets Rolex's strict standards. The only parts finished by robots and machines are those in which the robots produce a superior end product than a highly skilled worker. The extensive testing they do on every watch takes time, so it's not surprising for a watch to take a whole year before it hits the market. Number 10. Rolex demonstrates that their watches can endure virtually anywhere on the planet. Rolex's reputation grew after the war when a British Himalayan expedition led by Sir Edmund Hillary reached the summit of Mount Everest for the very first time in 1953. Regardless of the challenging conditions and high altitude, all of the team members' Rolex watches never broke down or lost a second. The US Navy sent out a specifically made research submarine down to 35,798 feet below sea level in what is known as the Mariana Trench, which is the deepest spot on the Earth's crust. A Rolex was attached to the outside of the vessel out of a sense of wonder, and it ran flawlessly despite the extreme pressures. They proceeded and repeated the gig in 2012 to flex their muscles once more when Rolex joined the Deep Sea Challenge expedition, led by filmmaker James Cameron in collaboration with National Geographic. They had it located outside the submarine and controlled it with a robotic arm. The watch worked flawlessly. Thank you for watching. Hopefully, this has been an enlightening experience for you. And if you want to see more content like this, remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll be one of the first to see our latest uploads. See you at the next one!